was the catalyst that ripped Luke, Leia, and Han apart.
Leia and Han's romance was also tarnished in The Force Awakens. Did you think that they lived happily ever after? Well, too bad. Their son turned into a murdering Dark Force user, and they leave each other. Did you think that Luke was a hero that would never give up on his friends or the galaxy? Well, too bad. He ran away and became a hermit, leading to even more deaths and disasters. The old Luke would never have run away from his friends and left them to their fates. It just screams inconsistent and convenient.
Force Awakens also humanized another classic Star Wars element, a stormtrooper. This is the first time we've ever really seen underneath the mask of one of these guys. We saw a trooper die in front of him, wiping blood across his helmet, and in just that one visual image, stormtroopers were suddenly people.
Instead of feeling angry about losing the only friend he ever had, Finn decides he'd rather help the guy who just killed him. Wouldn't it have made more sense if Finn went full rage mode and made it his mission to avenge his friend, or at the very least be the one who captured Poe? Isn't it more likely that he'd hate Poe Dameron instead of feeling like rescuing him? You'd think seeing your best friend get killed by a rebel would make you hate the Resistance all the more. In fact, that's just the nature of war.
I love that the First Order genuinely felt like a real operating team, with both the Riot Trooper and Kylo calling Finn a traitor. Finn's backstory is intriguing, and I can't wait to learn more about him.
First of all, stormtroopers in the First Order are stolen from their families at a young age and put into forced labor, both in combat and menial work on board starships. So how in the blazes could Finn's fellow stormtrooper and Kylo Ren accuse him of being a traitor? Who did he even pledge his allegiance to? Isn't the First Order betraying the entire Republic? Aren't they the murderers for slaughtering defenseless villagers and destroying entire planets? Didn't Kylo Ren kill his dad in cold blood?
Let's talk about Han Solo. In the originals, he was a scoundrel, a smuggler. He was cocky, self-assured, and just plain awesome. But he wasn't buying any of that Force crap.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
You don't believe in the Force, do you?
The Force Awakens gave us the chance to see an older, wiser Han Solo. Someone who, when asked about the Force, says,
It's true. All of it.
The moment was played up in the trailer quite a bit, indicating a new Han Solo. But in the actual film, once he's done, he just goes back to Han the Swindler. It seems like a real missed opportunity, when obviously we have Han otherwise filling in the mentor role that Obi-Wan played in the original. But what if he really believed in the Force now? What if he was all about it? I mean, his wife had it, his brother-in-law had it saved the galaxy, his son has it, and it would make sense that he would learn about it and know about it and be able to explain it to these two noobs throughout the film. In The Force Awakens, Rey stumbles into her Force powers. She convinces a stormtrooper to unlock her and let her go, but she's never seen a Jedi mind trick before. How'd she know to do that? Wouldn't it be satisfying to have heard Han, a former Force denier, explain to her the amazing powers his family has? A grizzled war vet and a former smuggler woke to the ways of the Force, explaining with awe how with the Force you can manipulate people's minds. But instead, it's just the one scene, and I don't know, missed opportunity.
He's grown, he's matured. Let's not forget about the most important new aspect of his character. He's a father. When he sees Kylo on the battlefield, I nearly lost it at the sight of this beloved, scruffy-looking nerf herder suddenly brought down to earth. Han hasn't been this interesting since he said,
I know.
Yes, Han Solo is totally awesome, but the film totally ruins his death scene. What another wasted opportunity. He gets killed in the most CGI arena imaginable, where everyone gets a great view. Finn, Rey, Chewie, heck, even the stormtroopers get a nice view of his death. What a crappy cliché fest. I would have liked to see his death be far more intimate and actually mean something, rather than be in the middle of a bridge with prime seats for all his friends. I mean, after Han dies, it shows Chewie scream and Leia look sad, and that's it. It's another major moment glossed over. Then, when they arrive at the Resistance base, Chewie just strolls past Leia as she goes on to hug Rey. What the hell? Chewie would have gone straight to Leia, and they would have been devastated. The Chewie and Leia I knew would never be so accepting of Han's death. Leia would have never let Han go on that dangerous mission by himself either.
Also, this movie displayed dark and exciting new uses of the Force, with Kylo Ren traversing the thoughts of his prisoners he referred to as guests, and stopping laser beams in midair.
The first scenes of the movie show Kylo using Force Stasis, a high-end Force power that hints at him being extremely powerful and having a decent amount of Force training. He's also able to probe people's minds to extract information. All of this points to a very well-disciplined Force user. Yet, for the rest of the movie, Kylo acts like a bratty child in desperate need of a spanking, smashing important equipment and choking officers for no apparent reason, showing not an ounce of discipline whatsoever.
And then there's the ending, which we've already discussed briefly. Aside from Empire, every Star Wars movie previously ends with a tightly wrapped bow and a feeling of warm, comforting closure. The Empire Strikes Back and The Force Awakens smartly ended their films with a cliffhanger, keeping the story interesting even after the credits have finished playing and we're driving home from the theater.
Wait, why are we even theorizing? Why are there so many unanswered questions? Director J.J. Abrams is obsessed with the idea of a mystery box. He got this idea from the end of Empire when, spoiler alert, Darth Vader, spoiler alert, turns out to be Luke's, spoiler alert, father.
I am your father.
Except that wasn't a mystery in A New Hope. We weren't sitting there waiting for a mysterious box to be opened. We were surprised that there was even a box at all. When A New Hope came out, there weren't a bunch of fan theories like, I think Darth Vader from Star Wars is Luke Skywalker from Star Wars' dad. And they didn't exist not because the internet didn't exist yet, but because Star Wars isn't a mystery. It's an adventure with twists and turns. I can fully enjoy A New Hope if I do or do not know who Luke's real dad is. Have all of the information I need to enjoy the film on its own. But The Force Awakens withholds information everywhere that would otherwise be useful, that would otherwise inform the emotions of the movie. We're not told who Rey's parents are, but we're told who Rey's parents are is important. So at the end of the film, she hugs Leia, who's her mom? Aunt? Just some lady she's never met? How should I feel when this happens? And you can say, well, just wait until the next one for these answers. The movie ends on a cliffhanger after all. You can say that, but should I have to wait? It's not a TV show, it's one movie. Shouldn't we be able to enjoy it like that? Like one complete movie? Cliffhangers are fine and dandy, and should excite a viewer about what happens next, but I shouldn't still be scratching my head about why things happen at all, or what happened at all.
Does The Force Awakens follow a familiar formula? Yes, it most certainly does. But as I've already explained, virtually all of the Star Wars movies do.
So for certain things to come up again in the new generation of the saga, almost seems poetic, albeit repetitive. That being said, there becomes a point where drawing parallels to tradition wanders dangerously close to imitation instead of innovation.
I was pleased to see The Force Awakens breathe new life into its characters and take them in surprising new directions. And that's something I must stress. Characters! This movie had fantastic characters. The fact that I watched a Star Wars movie featuring Han, Leia, and Luke, yet found myself more invested in Rey, Finn, Poe, and BB-8 is a major accomplishment.
Portrayal of the new characters is also totally underwhelming, and I think it is a massive missed opportunity, since many of them seem genuinely interesting. I really liked them at first, but the film totally lets down the potential they could have. Poe is an all-American hero, with not enough development at all. He is the best the Resistance has, but he just abandons his mission on Jakku, leaving Finn, and returns to the Resistance with no explanation. His X-Wing skills are ridiculous, and is a better pilot than anyone in the first 6 films, but with no real reason why. I mean, did you see the insane maneuvers he was doing in the CG battles? He was taking out a TIE fighter every 1 second, and while at the same time picking off stormtroopers who were standing right next to the captured Han and Finn. Another example of a character who just does everything bigger and better. With Finn, I love the idea of this character, and John Boyega seems like one of the nicest people on Earth, but Finn just doesn't make any sense. He's a stormtrooper since his childhood, and his main job is to clean toilets, but he gets sent out on this really important mission. He doesn't seem to like all the killing, and decides that he wants to leave the First Order. In the process of leaving, he kills scores and scores of his fellow stormtroopers, and what seems like a huge contradiction to his character motivations. It makes no real sense. He serves as comedy relief a little too much in the film to take him too seriously, and some people have said that he's kind of like the Jar Jar Binks of this film, but I think that's a little bit unfair. Finn is just really inconsistent, and every guy who's got a serious case of asthma, and hardly contributes to the story at all. But hey, he's funny, right? A lot of criticism and love of the film has been directed at Rey. Some have called her a Mary Sue. Daisy Ridley puts in a great performance, and I love the concept of this new main hero being a female finally. I'd hoped that Bastila from Knights of the Old Republic was an inspiration for her, since Bastila kicks some serious ass. But there are some massive issues with Rey as a character, but it might pay off in the long run. If Rey is truly discovering her powers for the first time and mirroring Luke, then yes, she is a Mary Sue, someone who is super awesome and better than everyone else than in the previous films. No one has shown such an affinity with the Force to pick it up so fast. If, however, the next film revealed that she just had amnesia and was previously trained under Luke, like many speculate, then I guess this is a decent explanation for her effectively being Wonder Woman. She knows too much, she can do too much, she doesn't have any flaws, she comes off a little too perfect, and I think this is a mistake.
Abrams, with this film in particular, has proven himself a master at scene transitions. Nearly every scene in The Force Awakens starts with something eye-catching. Rey opens the compartment really fast. Finn wakes up, startled. You get the point. This keeps the film moving fast.
It's confusing and unclear as to what the current political situation is. This could be down to J.J. Abrams' style of fast-paced action and keeping the momentum going. And in a Star Wars film, this is a big mistake. The film overall is just far too rushed. And it's frustrating that J.J. Abrams refuses to let us know just how we got here. Like, you should just accept that it's more of the same Rebels vs. Empire stuff that you loved, so we gave you some more. No context needed, because we got plenty of one-liners and winks back to the old films. And oh crap, we gotta go to the next scene. The film sorely needs some exposition. Where was the roundtable meetings to discuss the current political situation? Where was the calmer moments to help learn more about these cool new characters? Why should we care about those planets being destroyed, or the New Republic, when we don't even know who or where they are?
It's also the funniest film in the saga by far. BB-8 giving the thumbs up with the lighter, Han preferring Chewie's bowcaster, Chewie oblivious at Han being referred to as a war hero, Rey popping in and out of the Millennium Falcon's compartment, the stormtroopers turning away during Kylo's rage. The humor was so fast and so well realized. It was such a pleasure to watch a funny Star Wars film again.
Intermixed within the plot is a non-stop onslaught of references to the old films, constant nods to the camera, and homages to the original trilogy. Some of these are funny, and are obviously used to get the audience on side, but The Force Awakens just doesn't know when to stop. Ultimately, Episode 7 takes it too far, and just can't stop with the Easter eggs while also piggybacking on the original trilogy story. The constant jokes and references make the tone of the film seem slightly off somehow. I couldn't put my finger on it at first, but I think that the trailers were selling a more intimate, serious, and dark adventure, but the one we got felt like a big predictable joke half the time. It ends up feeling like a slightly surreal and expensive fan film rather than a numbered entry into the Star Wars saga.
Something else I loved was that many of the characters often appear to have a sense of awe when seeing amazing things. This was something the prequels lacked. People walked around these incredible environments but never seemed amazed by their surroundings. When Poe is being escorted out of the ship in the beginning of the film, he stops to look around in awe. Stuff like this is great. It makes our heroes feel like they're in a real place. And it reminds us as viewers that we should be amazed by the world too.
Oscar Isaac appeared to have been told something similar, that there would be some extravagant CGI spectacle playing in the background when he entered the Star Destroyer, but all that laid in front of him was a standard hangar bay. Whatever it was that J.J. Abrams told him to be amazed at was apparently forgotten in post-production. In fact, this general lack of direction carries on for most of the movie. When Rey is cleaning her scavenged part, she looks up at this old lady with this inquisitive and longing look in her eyes. What is the viewer supposed to glean from this? Was there any reason to put this scene in the movie? And then when she's listening to Finn for the first time, she can't decide if she's honestly interested in what he's saying or just highly amused at how stupid he sounds, to the point where it looks like she's about to bust a gut from holding in laughter.
That's not to say that The Force Awakens isn't obviously a very well acted movie, with very good dialogue. The prequels had turned many Star Wars fans away from that beloved galaxy. This was not the time to write a script that took place entirely in the Mos Eisley Cantina with Han Solo and Luke Skywalker just chatting for 2 hours. So they did play it safe, and for this reintroduction to the Star Wars universe, I was more than fine with that, and I feel that it was probably the wise choice.
The Force Awakens is everything I feared it would be. A poorly written, by-the-book film made to appease prequel haters and lovers of the original trilogy. Abrams plays it safe, so safe in fact that he's produced a lifeless, uncreative, and ultimately disappointing Star Wars story.